Author taxes are one of those things that's kind of a mysterious part of being an author that you don't hear a lot about, or when you do hear about it, people are kind of confused or not 100% on it. And so I was really excited to make this video once I had gone through the process to kind of provide a little bit more context and transparency around the experience and what doing author taxes is all about, because I was really kind of fearful of having to do business taxes for the first time, because I don't know, somehow I thought everything would go wrong or it would be really complicated and I would owe the government all this money that I didn't have, and that is not what happened at all. So today I'm going to be sharing all about my experiences, the sorts of things that I claimed, how it was working with an accountant, and how that tax stuff all came together in the end for me. I will say a disclaimer, this is about my experience, so it may be different for different people, but I'm trying to give you an idea based on what went on with me. My book comes out from Simon Pulse in 2021, so I've received one advance payment so far. I have 2 more to come down the line, and so I got that payment in 2019, so it applied to my 2019 taxes, which were filed in 2020. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. Another thing to note, I am from Canada, so I'm from Ontario, Canada. Taxes may differ based on the province you're in. If you're in Canada, it may differ based on the country. I'm sure it probably does. So that's something to be aware of as well. But I still think this can kind of give you a good idea of the whole author tax journey. The first step on my author taxes journey was to find an accountant. I knew I didn't want to do any of this myself because I am not an expert, and I was worried that if I tried to do the taxes myself that I would end up owing the maximum, and really what I wanted was to find someone that would help me figure out how I could arrange and claim all of the stuff and the expenses I have so that I wouldn't be paying as much tax. So I wanted an accountant. So I started by asking around to other authors that I knew lived in Ontario and had books out to see what they did and like what accountant they used. And I was able to get a really good recommendation for an accountant. And I had gotten in touch with her in March. So as soon as I found out about her, I got in touch with her, and she was really good because she was like, okay, keep everything, keep all your receipts, keep everything you get, and I will be the one to tell you whether or not you can claim something, versus me only keeping things for stuff that I felt could be claimed, because then I might miss out on a bunch of stuff I had had. So from that point on, after I made contact with her, I started keeping every single paper receipt that I got. I still do that now, though of course now I'm more aware of the things that I wasn't able to claim. So next time I won't keep the receipts for that stuff because I can't claim it. But at the time I didn't know, so then it made more sense to just keep everything. And so what she set me up with also, she set me up with a bookkeeping Excel sheet. So you can have someone do your bookkeeping. The accountant that I ended up linking up with, she does do bookkeeping, but they charge an hourly rate for how much bookkeeping they do. And I didn't want to pay someone to do that when I could just keep track of all of my expenses myself and do it that way. So bookkeeping is most of what my author tax process involves for me personally. And I'm going to talk about that now. So how my bookkeeping works is I have an Excel spreadsheet that my accountant gave me. And so every month I go through and I list all of my expenses. So I have I have this guy that I got from Dollarama, as you can see. But I keep all my receipts in here. So there's little tabs for every month. And so for each month, I just put all my receipts in that month. And then I just keep storing them in there. And then at the end of the month, every month, because scheduling is important and I have like very strict adherence to my schedules. So at the end of the month, every month, I go through every single receipt and I put it into that Excel spreadsheet of bookkeeping. I also will pull any receipts from online purchases, things like that happen. I have some PayPal purchases that come through on a monthly basis. I record all of those. I'll also go through my bank statements and I'll record any of the fees that I got from the bank. So for example, like for having checking accounts, you will have fees associated, at least in the case of like my banks, you'll have some fees associated. And also for my line of credit, if I happen to have anything owing on that, I'll get a bit of a loan interest payment that I have to pay. And so I can make note of all of those. And so that's all contained in that spreadsheet. And then at the end of this whole process, at the end of the year, I give that whole bookkeeping document to my accountant. And she essentially went through just to double check that I have everything correctly. So then I'm only paying for her to double check and like make any little corrections if I've gotten anything wrong, versus paying to like give her a box of receipts and be like, here you go, and pay for however many hours worth of work. So that's how I do my bookkeeping. Now I'm going to talk about all the things that I was able to claim as an author, as an author being my business. So there are some obvious things that I think it's a little bit more evident that you can claim. For example, any books that you buy, because that's considered research. If you're using any of the programs you use to write, so if you're using Microsoft Word, I have a monthly account, so I pay for that. And things like, I guess, notebooks, if you use notebooks to write, and conferences. So if you go to any conferences, your travel for conferences, things that you eat, etc. I think those are the more obvious things that you can claim, but there were also some less obvious things that I was able to claim. So the house that I own with my boyfriend up north, I am a part owner. And so even though that's not my primary residence, there is a home office and I'm able to claim that. So I'm able to claim all of the home expenses, regardless of whether or not or regardless of how much I pay into the house myself. As long as I'm a part owner, it still falls into it and I can still claim that on taxes. So I claim all the heating and internet, and then some other less obvious things, bank fees. So I talked about how I record those on my bookkeeping. So any fees that my bank has, like for having a checking account or any loan accounts, your cell phone, you can also claim. And any of my website costs, so everything that to do with my website, my author website, so the premium theme that I paid for, my hosting, any other sort of paid plugins that I put on my WordPress site, I can claim. Also any associated home office costs, so purchasing a home office desk or a computer or keyboard. So everything I've got for my home desk setup, I also count. And then also things that are kind of peripherally part of my author business. So for example, the things I use for YouTube. So my camera, my lighting setups, any of the programs that I use for that, any additional things I purchase that become part of Authortube / my author business. Also, all my groceries, you can claim your groceries, which I didn't know at all, which is why I was like, keep all your receipts, because there's a lot more things you can claim. Meal and entertainment costs, you can actually claim like 50% of your entertainment costs. So things like going to the movies and like what other entertainment costs. That's the one that strikes me the most, like going to the movies, and also your meals. So all of my frequent Uber Eats meals, etc., can be claimed. Clothing, so if you're buying professional business clothing to, go to conferences and stuff, you are a professional author, you can claim those as well. Any travel, so a lot of the flights and like Ubers and that sort of thing I take. And transit use. So, funny story, I contacted my transit company, the transit in Toronto, essentially to get the records of my transit usage so that I could put it on my bookkeeping. And the person was very insistent that I couldn't claim it, so there was no point really, but here you go, I guess. And I can claim it. So there you go, Becky. And you should have never told me that I couldn't claim it. And that's why you should listen to an accountant. You shouldn't listen to everybody else that's got their piecemeal opinion about what you can and cannot claim. You should trust trust the person whose job it is to do that. So that's all I can say. I totally can claim my transit. It really depends from person to person, and that person didn't know my life. So there you go. That was some of the stuff I claimed. And some of the stuff I couldn't claim that I put on because I was recording everything in my bookkeeping, but you actually can't claim it. So like personal things that essentially no one can claim, unless I guess you're like a beauty guru, maybe. So like cosmetics, that sort of thing. I bought like makeup and skincare. I couldn't claim that. Video games, even though they're entertainment for whatever reason, video games, not considered claimable. Souvenirs I get when I'm traveling, craft items, and any furniture that's considered personal furniture, that's not considered office furniture. Though one of those was my office chair. So I don't know, work that out with whoever you're working with. But that's kind of an example of the things that I could and could not claim on my taxes, to give you a kind of broader idea, which is why it's really good that my accountant had me keep all the receipts for everything I had, at least for this first time around, so that I could understand what I could and could not claim. Because now when I'm doing my bookkeeping for 2020, I know what to record and what to just leave off. How does the accountant calculate your taxes? I still don't know. That's why this is my experience sort of video. I honestly have no idea how this came together. I had my accountant send me the Excel sheet, the bookkeeping sheet that she edited after I sent it to her, so that I could kind of look over and make sure that I was doing my bookkeeping correctly. And the only sort of thread that I could see was the total of the expenses they added up was very similar to the amount that my tax return ended up being. So that's kind of the only similarity I could see, but I honestly don't understand. And this is why I had to hire an accountant, because I don't know what I'm doing and I don't understand the intricacies of how this is actually working. But I do understand that I do my bookkeeping, I get stuff claimed, and the more I have to claim against, it's put against what I made for the business, and that helps come up with a sum. And also my day job is incorporated into that somehow. So the intricacies of that, I still don't know. I haven't learned that this year. Maybe that'll be a Author Tax 2020 thing that I learned, but at this point I don't. But what I did learn is that my accountant was extremely, extremely invaluable. I expected that I was going to be having to pay the government some amount of money, and that didn't happen at all. Not only did I get to keep the 30% of my advance that I had set aside in anticipation of having to maybe pay that much in taxes, but I also got money back on top of that. So the accountant essentially paid for themselves and then some. So I didn't end up having to pay anything. I will say that my advance is a more modest advance, but still great for me, I guess. But I think what I came away with was that I wouldn't have known how to do this. And having an accountant that was experienced, and that was specifically experienced in working with authors, was really helpful for me, because they knew exactly what could be claimed and what could not be claimed. I was able to do everything online with them. I never had to go in anywhere, which was wonderful once Corona hit, because I could send them all of my stuff online and not have to worry about it. They're really easy to communicate with. They always answered any questions I had as well. So that was really good. And that was just wonderful for me. And the results far exceeded any expectations I had. I did not expect to get any money back. I just wanted to maybe owe a little bit less money because it's not like I'm balling out here, and I wanted to be able to keep a little bit more of my advance. And in the end, I ended up getting more money on top of that, which was fantastic for me. And so that was really my experience of doing author taxes for the first time. It was really positive for me because I got money back, and I highly recommend looking into an accountant if you can, because it really helped me a lot. I had to do the kind of hard day-to-day work of the bookkeeping, but they were able to do everything after, and they got my taxes done super fast. I think within like a couple weeks of me sending them all of my stuff, they had the taxes done. I got my refund like a week after that, so really fast. And it was just really stress-free, it was really stress-free, which is what I appreciated from that whole process, because I had spent all this lead-up time being stressed that I was gonna owe a lot of money and that it was gonna be harder for me to keep any of that money back, which I needed. So that's my entire All About Author Taxes experience. And if you have any experiences yourself with doing your own author taxes, for sure comment and share any information that you have as well. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to me already, please subscribe below. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.